Good morning and welcome back. Before I say anything else, I need you to stop what you're doing and pay very close attention to what I'm about to share with you, because this could literally save your life or the life of someone you love. What I'm going to tell you today is something most doctors never bring up during a routine visit, something that happens quietly in the dark while you're completely unaware, and it is killing people every single night. A close friend of mine, a retired school teacher named Harold, 71 years old from Columbus, Ohio, was found by his wife one morning unresponsive. He had gone to bed feeling perfectly fine, no chest pain, no warning signs whatsoever. He was gone before the ambulance even arrived. The cause was a massive cardiac event that happened while he slept. And when I looked deeper into what had been going on with Harold in the months before, I found something that his primary care doctor had completely overlooked. Something that millions of seniors are doing right now, tonight, without realizing it, is quietly damaging their heart, thickening their blood, and setting the stage for stroke and sudden death. A landmark study published by the European Heart Journal followed over 84,000 adults between the ages of 60 and 80 over a period of 9 years. The researchers found that individuals who engaged in a specific set of nighttime habits had a 67% higher risk of cardiovascular-related death during sleep compared to those who had made simple, targeted changes to their evening routine. 67%. That is not a small number. That is the difference between waking up tomorrow morning and not waking up at all. Now, I know some of you might be thinking, "Oh, doctor, I feel fine. I sleep fine. This doesn't apply to me." And that is exactly the kind of thinking that has cost people their lives because the most dangerous conditions never announce themselves. They build silently over months and years, like rust forming on the inside of a pipe, completely invisible until the pipe finally bursts. Today, I am going to walk you through 6 things that seniors absolutely need to stop doing before bed. These are ranked from number 6 all the way down to number 1. And the closer we get to number 1, the more critical and urgent it becomes. I will tell you right now that number 2 on this list shocked even me when I first reviewed the research, and most of you have absolutely no idea you are currently doing it. So stay with me all the way to the end, because missing even one of these could cost you everything. But before we dive in, I want to ask you something personally. Leave a comment below telling me how old you are and whether you have ever woken up in the middle of the night with your heart pounding or feeling short of breath. I read every single comment on this channel, and your answers genuinely help me create content that serves you better and more effectively. Now let's get into it. Coming in at number 6, and this one might genuinely surprise you because it seems so completely harmless, is eating a large meal within 2 hours of going to bed. Now I know this is something that millions of people do every single night without a second thought. A late dinner, a big snack, maybe some leftovers before turning in for the evening. It feels comforting and natural. But here's what is actually happening inside your body when you do this. And it is not a pretty picture at all. When you eat a large meal, your digestive system demands an enormous surge of blood flow to process that food properly. Your heart has to work significantly harder to pump blood to your stomach and intestines. For a 30-year-old, this is entirely manageable, but researchers at the University of Sao Paulo published findings showing that in adults over 65, postprandial, which means after eating, cardiac stress increases blood pressure by an average of 22 points and elevates heart rate substantially for up to 3 hours following the meal. Now imagine that happening while you are lying horizontal and asleep with your body already in its most vulnerable and unguarded state. There is also the very serious issue of acid reflux and what is called vagal stimulation. When stomach acid travels upward, which happens far more easily when you are lying down with a full stomach, it can actually trigger irregular heart rhythms in susceptible individuals. After the age of 70, your lower esophageal sphincter, which is essentially the valve at the bottom of your throat that keeps stomach acid down where it belongs, weakens considerably, making this problem dramatically and dangerously worse. The fix here is beautifully simple. Finish your last full meal at least 3 hours before bed. If you are genuinely hungry in the evening, a small, easily digestible snack, something like a few walnuts or half a banana, is perfectly acceptable and fine. Pair this habit change with a short 10-minute walk after dinner. Research from the University of Limerick found that just a 10-minute post-meal walk reduces blood glucose spikes by 28% and takes significant pressure off your cardiovascular system during the critical nighttime hours. This one change alone, if you make it starting tonight, begins protecting your heart immediately and measurably. Now let's move to number 5, and this is one that your doctor has almost certainly never once mentioned to you. It is something nearly 60% of seniors over 70 do every single evening without giving it a second thought. I am talking about taking your blood pressure medication in the morning when you actually should be taking it at night. A groundbreaking study published in the European Heart Journal, and I will put the full reference in the description below, followed over 19,000 patients over a 6-year period. The researchers discovered that people who took their antihypertensive medication at bedtime rather than in the morning had a 45% lower risk of heart attack, a 49% lower risk of heart failure, and a stunning 66% lower risk of stroke. The reason comes down to something called nocturnal hypertension, a phenomenon where blood pressure spikes dangerously high during the early morning hours, typically between 3 and 6 in the morning. This is the precise window when most cardiac events and strokes occur. When you take your blood pressure medication in the morning, it peaks in effectiveness around midday and wears off completely by the time you enter that dangerous early morning window. But when you take it at night, it is working at full strength precisely when your body needs it the most. Now, critically, please do not change your medication timing without speaking to your doctor first. Every situation is different, and some medications absolutely must be taken with food. But bring the study to your very next appointment and have that conversation openly. It could genuinely save your life. This finding pairs remarkably well with what we will discuss at number 4. So pay close attention because these two habits work together in a way that multiplies their combined benefit dramatically. Number 4 on our list is something I personally call the silent dehydration trap, and it is one of the most underestimated and overlooked cardiovascular threats facing people over the age of 65. Here's the dangerous irony that most people never realize. Most seniors intentionally drink less water in the evening, specifically to avoid waking up for bathroom trips during the night. That instinct makes complete sense on the surface, but what it is doing to your blood while you sleep is genuinely terrifying when you understand the full picture. As we age, our kidneys become less efficient at concentrating urine. The body's thirst mechanism, controlled by a part of the brain called the hypothalamus, becomes significantly blunted after about age 60. Research from the University of Connecticut's Human Performance Laboratory found that older adults can be significantly dehydrated without ever feeling thirsty or noticing any discomfort. Now here is where it connects directly and powerfully to your heart and brain. When you are dehydrated during sleep, your blood becomes thicker and more viscous. Think of the difference between water flowing smoothly through a pipe versus thick honey trying to move through that same pipe. That thick, sticky blood has to be pumped by your heart with far greater effort and strain. It also forms clots far more easily, which is exactly how the majority of strokes happen. A study published in the American Journal of Epidemiology found that adults over 65 who were even mildly dehydrated at bedtime had blood viscosity levels comparable to those seen right before a thrombotic stroke. That is an extraordinary and deeply concerning finding. The solution is not to chug large amounts of water right before bed, because that will simply have you in the bathroom all night long. Instead, drink a full glass of water with electrolytes, particularly potassium and magnesium, about 2 hours before sleep. Foods naturally rich in potassium, like a small sweet potato or a few dried apricots consumed in the late afternoon, help maintain proper hydration throughout the night without overwhelming your bladder. The magnesium specifically has the remarkable added benefit of relaxing arterial walls and actually lowering blood pressure during sleep. These two nutrients together are like giving your entire cardiovascular system a gentle and powerful protective cushion for the night ahead. Now I want to take a quick moment here to ask you, if this channel has been genuinely helpful to you, please take just 5 seconds right now and hit that like button and subscribe if you have not already done so. We are a community of people who firmly believe that aging powerfully and with vitality is absolutely possible, and every like and subscription helps us reach more seniors who desperately need this information. It truly means the world to me and to this entire community. Alright, let's keep going because we are now getting into the most critical territory. Number 3 is one that truly breaks my heart because I see it every single week in my work, and I witnessed it firsthand with a patient of mine named Dorothy, 78 years old, from Tucson, Arizona. Dorothy came to see me after her second minor stroke in just 18 months. She was on all the right medications. She exercised regularly. She ate reasonably well by any standard. But when I asked her about her evenings, she described something I immediately recognized as a serious and ongoing problem. Every night, without fail, Dorothy spent 2 to 3 hours lying comfortably in bed, scrolling through her tablet, checking the news, browsing social media, watching family videos, with the screen held just inches from her face in a darkened room. She had absolutely no idea that this seemingly innocent habit was directly destabilizing her cardiovascular system night after night after night. Here is the science behind why this matters so profoundly. The blue light emitted by screens, phones, tablets, and televisions directly suppresses melatonin production in the brain. Most people think of melatonin simply as a sleep hormone and nothing more. But researchers at Brigham and Women's Hospital, affiliated with Harvard Medical School, have clearly demonstrated that melatonin plays a genuinely critical role in cardiovascular protection. It acts as a potent antioxidant that protects the delicate lining of blood vessels, called the endothelium, from the kind of oxidative damage that leads to plaque buildup, arterial stiffening, and ultimately heart attack and stroke. When melatonin is suppressed by nighttime screen use, this powerful protective shield is essentially lowered and left open. In adults over 70 whose melatonin production is already naturally reduced by approximately 75% compared to younger adults, this additional suppression is particularly and profoundly devastating. A study from the Journal of the American College of Cardiology found that chronic nighttime light exposure was directly associated with a 43% increase in major adverse cardiac events in older adults. That is a staggering and sobering statistic. Dorothy followed my advice faithfully. She instituted a strict no-screen policy after 8 in the evening. Within just 6 weeks, she told me she was sleeping more deeply than she had in years. Within 4 months, her inflammatory markers, specifically a substance called C-reactive protein, which measures inflammation throughout the cardiovascular system, had dropped by over 30%. She has not experienced a single cardiac event since making that change. Stop the screens 2 hours before bed. It is one of the most powerful cardiovascular decisions you can make starting tonight, and it costs you absolutely nothing. Number 2, and I promised you this one would genuinely surprise you, is sleeping on your back. Now before you close this video and tell me I have completely lost my mind, please hear me out, because the research behind this particular finding is absolutely undeniable and the implications are profound. When you sleep flat on your back, gravity causes the tongue and soft tissues of the throat to fall backward, partially or sometimes fully blocking the airway during sleep. This is the primary physical mechanism behind obstructive sleep apnea, a condition affecting an estimated 50% of adults over the age of 65, the vast majority of whom have never been diagnosed or even suspected they might have it. During these apnea episodes, your brain sounds an emergency alarm and floods your body with powerful stress hormones, particularly cortisol and adrenaline. Your blood pressure can spike to dangerously high levels, dozens and sometimes even hundreds of times per night, each spike lasting only seconds, brief enough that you never fully wake up, but long enough to cause serious and cumulative damage over time. The American Heart Association has now formally and officially recognized untreated sleep apnea as a major independent risk factor for hypertension, atrial fibrillation, heart attack, and stroke. A study published in the journal Circulation found that adults with moderate to severe sleep apnea had a 58% higher risk of fatal cardiac arrhythmia during sleep. This is precisely how apparently healthy-seeming people die quietly and unexpectedly in the night without any prior warning. If you share a bed with someone, ask your partner whether you snore loudly or seem to stop breathing momentarily during sleep. If you sleep alone, record yourself with your phone's voice memo app for just one night. The signs are often completely unmistakable once you hear them. Sleeping on your side, particularly your left side, which naturally reduces pressure on the heart and improves circulation, is dramatically protective against these events. A simple body pillow placed firmly behind your back can effectively prevent you from rolling over onto your back during the night. For those who have already received a confirmed diagnosis of sleep apnea, a CPAP device is genuinely and profoundly life-saving. Please do not let stubbornness or temporary discomfort keep you from using it consistently. The adjustment period is worth every moment of inconvenience. And now we have arrived at number 1, the single most dangerous bedtime habit for seniors. The one that ties all of the others together and multiplies every cardiovascular risk I have described today. Are you ready for this? It is chronic, untreated emotional stress that is left to fester and grow in the hours immediately before sleep. I want you to think carefully about your typical evening for a moment. Do you watch the news, politics, crime reports, and disaster stories right before bed? Do you lie awake, running through worries about your health, your finances, or your family members? Do you replay difficult conversations or painful conflicts from earlier in the day over and over in your mind? If so, you are engaging in what researchers at the University of California, Berkeley specifically call rumination before rest, and its cumulative impact on your cardiovascular system is nothing short of catastrophic when sustained over time. Here is the precise biological mechanism at work. When you experience psychological stress, your body releases cortisol and adrenaline, the same powerful stress hormones triggered by sleep apnea. But in this case, they are sustained and continuous throughout the night. Chronic evening stress keeps these hormones elevated throughout the entire sleep period, actively preventing your blood pressure from completing its natural and essential nighttime dip, what cardiologists specifically call nocturnal dipping. In a healthy person, blood pressure drops 10 to 20% during sleep, giving the heart and blood vessels absolutely critical recovery and repair time. In individuals experiencing chronic stress, this protective dip never fully occurs, or may not occur at all. A 20-year study conducted jointly by the American Heart Association and researchers at Johns Hopkins University found that adults who reported chronic nighttime worry and high evening stress levels had a 72% higher lifetime risk of fatal cardiovascular events compared to their peers who maintained lower evening stress levels. After age 70, when the body's own ability to regulate cortisol is already diminished by roughly 40% compared to younger adults, this damaging effect is even more pronounced and far more dangerous. This is ultimately what took my dear friend Harold from us. It was not just one single thing. It was the accumulation of everything together. The late meals, the dehydration, the screens, the backsleeping, and underneath all of it, a quiet and private man who worried every single night about his retirement finances without ever telling anyone what was troubling him. His cardiovascular system never received the recovery time it so desperately needed night after night after night. The intervention required is not complicated or expensive, but it absolutely must be intentional and consistent. Starting 30 minutes before bed, practice what I personally call a cardiac wind down. Turn off all news and all screens without exception. Write down 3 specific things that went well today, no matter how small they may seem. Genuine peer-reviewed research from the Greater Good Science Center at UC Berkeley shows that this simple act measurably lowers cortisol levels within just 20 minutes of doing it. Practice what is known as 4-7-8 breathing. Inhale slowly for 4 counts, hold for 7 counts, then exhale slowly and completely for 8 counts. This breathing pattern directly activates the parasympathetic nervous system, which is your body's own natural calm-down and recovery system, and it directly and measurably lowers both heart rate and blood pressure within minutes. If prayer or meditation is already part of your personal life, this evening period is its most powerful and beneficial application, not as a spiritual formality, but as genuine physiological medicine for your heart and your entire cardiovascular system. Pair this wind-down practice with magnesium glycinate, 200 to 400 milligrams, taken 30 minutes before bed. This specific form of magnesium, unlike many others, crosses the blood-brain barrier and directly calms the nervous system while simultaneously relaxing blood vessel walls throughout the body. Studies from the National Institutes of Health have found that it reduces nighttime cortisol levels and improves sleep quality in adults over 65 by up to 39%. Think of it as a gentle, reassuring hand placed on your heart's shoulder, quietly telling it that it is safe to rest tonight and that everything is going to be all right. Now I want to close with something I say to every single patient I sit across from, regardless of their age or the condition they are facing. It is never too late. That is not empty encouragement or hollow optimism. It is a biological and scientific reality. The human body, even at 75, even at 80, even at 85 years of age, retains a truly remarkable and inspiring capacity to heal and adapt when we remove the things that are actively harming it. Your heart wants to beat steadily and strongly for decades more. Your brain wants to remain sharp and clear and engaged with the world. Your legs want to carry you to your grandchildren's birthdays and out into your garden in the morning light and onto your front porch in the peaceful evening hours. Every single change I described to you today, stopping the late meals, adjusting your medication timing with your doctor's guidance, staying properly hydrated, eliminating screen exposure before sleep, changing your sleeping position, and deliberately protecting your emotional peace in those critical hours before rest. Each and every one of these changes is completely within your reach starting tonight. Not next month, not next week, tonight. You did not make it to this age by being weak or giving up. You made it here because you are resilient and adaptable and strong, and the people who love you need you to keep going. Not just to be alive in the room, but to be fully present and vital and completely yourself. That is what these habits protect. Not just your heartbeat, but your actual life and everything and everyone that gives it meaning and purpose. All of the scientific studies I referenced throughout today's discussion are linked in the description below for your convenience. Please share this with someone you love deeply, a spouse, a sibling, a dear friend, because you may never fully know whose life that simple act of sharing might one day save. If you are not yet subscribed to this channel, please do that right now by clicking the button below. We release new content every single week dedicated entirely to helping you live longer, stronger, and with the full independence and dignity you have earned and absolutely deserve. And before you go, please leave me a comment right now. Tell me which of these 6 habits surprised you the most, and tell me honestly whether you are going to make any changes starting tonight. I read every single comment personally, and I genuinely look forward to hearing from each and every one of you. Take good care of yourselves. I will see you in the next one.